Very good morning and welcome to Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha. Let's start with the headlines first. Prime Minister Narendra Modi given a grand reception in Beijing on day 2 of his China visit. Summit-level talks with Chinese Premier Li Keqiang slated along with signing of over a dozen agreements. Sushma Swaraj assures all 39 Indians held hostage by the ISIS in Iraq are safe. Clarification comes after former IS hostage claimed they were killed. There could be spanner in the works for Jayalalitha. Special public prosecutor in DA case recommends appeal. Original petitioner Subramaniam Swamy set to move the Supreme Court against her acquittal. Rahul Gandhi to begin 15-kilometer Padyatra across villages in Telangana. Congress Vice President aims to highlight the plight of farmers following a spate of suicides. And US President Barack Obama assures Gulf leaders over fears of Iran nuclear deal, says he would use military force to defend the Arab allies. Well, our top story this morning. After a red carpet welcome in Xi'an, Prime Minister Narendra Modi reached Beijing late last night. He will hold talks with Chinese Premier Li Keqiang today, after which the two sides are set to sign deals worth $10 billion. Our correspondent Frank Pereira brings us this report on what is lined up for the Prime Minister in Beijing today.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Beijing late on Thursday night after what was a fruitful visit to Xi'an. After an official welcome by Chinese Prime Minister Li Keqiang today at the Great Hall of People in Beijing, the two leaders will hold closed-door talks.
Seasoned observer in China, the visit is over, more or less, in the sense that the big talks always takes place between Xi and the visiting leader. And Xi, as we know, is regarded as probably the most powerful leader in China. He has consolidated his power, and everything flows out of him. So if those key and crucial issues that have been discussed, ought to be discussed, have been discussed today, and obviously there is a sense that both sides would have got from each other what is the roadmap for the next, rather, 5 years of their term.
Agreements to the tune of $10 billion are expected to be signed between the two countries this morning. The Prime Minister will then hold the very first meeting of the India-China State and Provincial Leaders Forum, which aims at involving state leaders in international talks. Indian Chief Ministers who will join Modi in the meeting in Beijing are Gujarat Chief Minister Anandiben Patel and Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis.
प्रधानमंत्री जी हमेशा ये कहते हैं कि भारत राज्यों में रहता है और बिल्कुल सही बात है कि जब तक राज्य कोलैबोरेट नहीं करेंगे, जब तक राज्य आगे नहीं जाएंगे तो देश का विकास कैसे होगा। और इसलिए पहली बार ये पहल मुझे बायलैटरलिज्म में पहली बार ये पहल दिख रही है कि राज्य आमने सामने बैठ रहे हैं। मोदी जी ने यहाँ के राज्यों को और भारत के राज्यों को एक साथ बैठाया। इससे कॉपरेशन बढ़ेगा, इससे बहुत तेजी से निवेश बढ़ेगा, इससे बहुत तेजी से इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में, कम्युनिकेशन में, टेक्नोलॉजी में हम लोग साथ में आ पाएंगे और मुझे लगता है कि एक बहुत नई पहल मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में हो रही है।
The Prime Minister will also address the Chinese youth during this visit, having already broken the ice with them by joining the Chinese social media platform Weibo. He will make an address at the Tsinghua University. One of the events to watch out for is the Yoga Tai Chi joint event, the former propagated by Modi and the latter, which is a Chinese martial art. It will take place at the Temple of Heaven in Beijing this afternoon.
After a fruitful visit to Xi'an, which is President Xi Jinping's home province, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is now in Beijing. Of course, Beijing is the capital of China, and he will be given a ceremonial welcome by Li Keqiang, the Prime Minister of China, after which there will be bilateral talks between the two leaders and several agreements too will be signed. So Friday too seems to be an action-packed day here in Beijing, China. With camera person DK Pandey, this is Frank Pereira for Rajya Sabha Television.
So great expectations are attached to the Prime Minister's visit to China. Our correspondent Frank Pereira also spoke to the Indian diaspora in Beijing to understand what they are hoping from this visit.
So what are the expectations as far as the Indian diaspora is concerned, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to China?
Oh, there is a massive excitement going on, and everybody is very happy to see our leader in China. And we are very happy that these kind of high-profile visits do come to India or go back to China, and these things help to improve our relationships. Most of the time when you read in the newspapers, it is either the government-to-government talk or it is a business-to-business talk. When these visits happen, then a lot of soft stories also come out. The people-to-people contact improves better, and the local people get to know more about India, as well as the Indian people get to know more about China. This helps the friendship more.
Indeed, but what are the expectations? What is it that the Indian community is looking forward to? Any particular trade deals, any particular agreements that they are looking at?
Of course, everybody would like to see that there'll be more business contacts with India, so that more and more people can come over to China, work with China, or more Chinese can go to India, more relations can improve. These things are, of course, most important.
Okay. And what has the Chinese media been saying about Prime Minister Modi's visit to China?
Well, they are all very happy about it, and the very fact that he has gone to Xi'an, again, it's a reciprocal thing, because President Xi had been to Ahmedabad, and this is a way which they are returning back, and there's all a very positive attitude going on.
In fact, our correspondent Frank Pereira joins us on the phone line from Beijing. Frank has been monitoring this crucial visit very, very closely. Frank, on the economic front, today is a very, very crucial day. The Prime Minister will be meeting his counterpart, Li Keqiang. Take us through what's expected at the business end of the meet today.
Well, as far as the business end of the meeting is concerned, of course, there will be several agreements that will be signed, but the main business stop as far as this particular visit of Prime Minister Modi to China is concerned is going to be tomorrow in Shanghai. In fact, the Foreign Secretary Subramaniam Jaishankar has already stated that the Xi'an leg of the visit would be the cultural stop, the Beijing leg of the visit to China would be the political stop, and the Shanghai leg of the visit would be the business stop, is how the Foreign Secretary really has put it. As far as today's proceedings are concerned, at 9:30 a.m. local time, Prime Minister Modi was given a ceremonial welcome by the Prime Minister of China, Li Keqiang. In fact, the Indian national anthem was played, followed by the Chinese national anthem, and there was a performance by the Chinese army as well. And there was a sense of a lot of warmth when both the leaders met, and post which, of course, the entire ceremony lasted for about 15 minutes, post which both the leaders are, in fact, meeting and holding a bilateral level talks at the moment. And those talks are, in fact, currently on even as we speak right now. These are closed-door talks, of course, after which the Foreign Secretary Subramaniam Jaishankar is expected to come out and address the media. So only after that will we get a clear picture as to what was really discussed between the two leaders behind closed doors, Tina.
Right. So, Frank, like yesterday, is the Prime Minister expected to raise those contentious issues? Of course, those are the sticking points like the border dispute, the staple visa issue with Arunachal Pradesh. He raised it with the President Xi Jinping yesterday. Do you think in the talks today, those points are going to crop up once again?
It doesn't seem like those talks are going to crop up this time around. You know, what the local media and the others have been talking about, the other experts have been saying is that, yes, the issue was raised, but it wasn't driven home really as far as those contentious and sticky issues are concerned. And even India doesn't want to be too pushy, because the main agenda as far as this visit is concerned is to try and reduce the trade deficit, and also to ensure that economic ties between the two countries is taken to a higher level. So as far as issues like the staple visa issue and the border issue, of course, it seems like it's going to take a back seat. It could be raised again, but it's already been raised with President Xi. So President Xi, of course, we all know is the final authority. So since those talks are already completed, it doesn't seem like these two contentious issues really will be raised in the meetings or in the bilateral talks today, Tina.
Right. Frank, coming to the atmospherics, how's this atmosphere like in Beijing? You've been there traveling across, speaking to people. How are the Chinese people reacting to this crucial visit? In fact, especially when President Xi Jinping has set aside the protocol, he has hosted Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So even for the Chinese citizens, it's being seen as a significant one. Has the Prime Minister been able to connect? Remember, he tried to connect with the Chinese netizens through Weibo. Has it made any kind of a difference?
Well, as far as Vivo is concerned, there are several students and the youngsters really who are on the Chinese social networking site. So that particular visit is going to happen later on in the afternoon after Prime Minister has some rest after the bilateral talks and after signing the agreements, of course, is when the Prime Minister is going back to the hotel, going to take a short break and then head to the university, the Tsinghua University, where he's going to address several of the students and several of the youngsters, and that, of course, is eagerly anticipated, and everyone's looking forward to that. As far as the atmosphere in Beijing is concerned, the Chinese media and the Chinese press seems to be more, more eager and earnest about covering the event of John Kerry, which is going to happen on Saturday. On the 18th is when John Kerry is going to visit China, and that's something that the Chinese media is really looking forward to. As far as the people are concerned, of course, the people are largely driven by what the state-owned newspapers and state-owned news channels actually says. So as far as coverage of Prime Minister Modi was concerned, it started only one day before he arrived in China. So a few days ago, no one really knew what was happening as far as Prime Minister Modi's visit to China was concerned. But a day before his actual visit, the general public and people in China, knew that Prime Minister Modi was indeed coming here, and they were looking at a lot of cultural ties and economic ties on the economic front, rather than really some of those sticky and contentious issues, Tina.
Frank, also tell us how the Indian diaspora is reacting. You've spoken to quite a few people. How the Indian people residing in China are reacting to this crucial visit? Do they see this as a landmark visit, something which is going to change relations between both countries?
Well, it is indeed a landmark visit. There's no two ways about that, because for the first time, of course, President Xi Jinping has broken protocol and met any foreign leader outside of Beijing and in Xi'an. So that itself was historic and extremely significant. So both countries are working extremely hard to send out feelers to each other, and of course the direction in which the talks and the ties are headed seem to be heading in a much warmer direction. But as far as the Indian diaspora is concerned, of course, the mood among the Indian people is extremely upbeat. They're extremely thrilled that Prime Minister Modi is in China, and they're looking forward and they're hoping that a lot is really going to come out of this visit. Whether or not that's really going to happen, time will tell. But at the moment, of course, the ties between two countries look extremely warm. It remains to be seen whether or not it will be taken a notch higher.
All right, Frank, many thanks for joining us with those details. So expectations really high as far as the Prime Minister's China visit is concerned. Not just people, also the experts hoping that relations between both countries reach a new landmark. Meanwhile, moving on in the bulletin now, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj has assured that all 39 Indians held hostage in Iraq by the Islamic State militants for nearly a year are alive. Her assurance to the families of victims came after a former Islamic State hostage claimed that they all were shot dead. The minister said that the government is making sincere efforts for the safe and early release of all the Indians.
It's been more than a year since 39 Indians were abducted by Islamic State militants from Mosul in Iraq. Yesterday, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj met the families of the victims to assure them that all 39 captives are alive and safe. She rejected a claim made by a former Islamic State hostage that the kidnapped Indians have been killed.
40 इंडियन थे और 50 बांग्लादेशी थे, तो उन्होंने हमें जाके सेफ जगह में रख दिया और हमें बोले आप जहां बैठो, आपको कोई खतरा नहीं है, सुबह आपका कामा लगेगा तो फिर आप अपने देश जा सकते हो।
लेकिन अब वो अपने आप ही हमारी प्रोटेक्शन छोड़ के भी चला गया। तो मैंने कहा हो सकता है वो ये बात स्वयं भी आप लोगों से कहे, लेकिन इस पर यकीन करने का कोई मतलब नहीं है, क्योंकि यकीन करने का मतलब है तलाश छोड़ देना और हाथ पर हाथ रखकर बैठ जाना। मैं बिल्कुल वो नहीं करूंगी, मैं अपनी तलाश जारी रखूंगी। पिछले सत्र तक मेरे पास 6 सोर्सेज थे जिनके माध्यम से ये पता लग रहा था कि वो जिंदा हैं। अब उसमें 2 और जुड़ गए और 8वां सोर्स तो इतना ज्यादा रिलायबल, इतना विश्वसनीय है कि उसकी बात पर ना भरोसा करने का कोई सवाल ही पैदा नहीं होता। तो उन्होंने साफ कहा है कि वो 39 लोग जिंदा हैं।
Sushma Swaraj earlier spoke to the foreign ministers in the Gulf Cooperation Council as well as other friendly countries in the region for their assistance in the safe release of Indians in captivity. She said that the government was making sincere efforts for the safe and early release of all Indian workers. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
Time for us to slip into a very short break here, but still much more to come on the Bulletin. Stay with us.
setting up business in India could get a lot easier. Parliament passes the Companies Amendment Bill 2014.
Do you really feel that by doing these things, ease of business can be achieved?
To start with, I would definitely say that the government is quite serious about its approach. However, having said that, it's only the first step, and we still require a long way to trudge along.
Watch Law of the Land on the Companies Amendment Bill. Saturday at 6:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. In the other big national news of the day, AIADMK Chief Jayalalitha's widely expected return as Chief Minister could be delayed further. Special Public Prosecutor B.V. Acharya has flagged what he claims is a major miscalculation by the court and has recommended an appeal. BJP leader Subramaniam Swamy is also set to move the Supreme Court against Jayalalitha's acquittal in the DA case this week.
AIADMK's euphoria over former Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Jayalalitha's acquittal on Monday in disproportionate assets case could be short-lived. The party is yet to decide on the timing of her return to power in the state amid talks of appeal in Supreme Court against her acquittal. Special Public Prosecutor B.V. Acharya has recommended an appeal in the top court. Besides him, BJP leader Subramaniam Swamy is also set to move Supreme Court on the matter.
I don't want to say all that. There is a regular procedure of giving an opinion. An opinion must contain why you are forming an opinion and all that. These are routine matters. I can't share all that with the press.
However, her party has criticized the move. According to sources, AIADMK is waiting for a move by the Karnataka government, which has said that it is examining whether the decision to clear Jayalalitha was based on flawed math.
If we are right, I think she must be reading the judgment copy because it's more than 900 pages and she wants to go through it very clearly. And another thing is, Avama believes in time. Acharya is a government advocate. He's having all the rights to ask the Supreme Court to get some time. He would have, that day, before 10 days, Supreme Court gave this order. As an advocate, as a government advocate, he can ask Supreme Court for more time.
On Monday, the Karnataka High Court had cancelled Jayalalitha's conviction and a 4-year jail term, saying that she had been incorrectly charged with accumulating wealth disproportionate to her known sources of income during her first term as Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. Jayalalitha had to step down after her conviction, which left her disqualified as a lawmaker. She has not made a single public appearance since the verdict that triggered wild celebrations among her supporters. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And for more national news, let's take you nationwide. The Haryana government has formed a commission to probe land deal with Robert Vadra. It has appointed Justice S.N. Dhingra, a retired judge of the Delhi High Court, to investigate the deals. The panel will submit a report within 6 months from the date of its first sitting. The report is expected to include suggestions about corrective actions to prevent the loss to exchequer. The Supreme Court has dismissed petitions by Greater Noida farmers challenging the UP government's decision to acquire their land for construction of residential clusters. In a relief to thousands of home buyers, the court upheld the earlier order issued by the Allahabad High Court on the matter. The Department of Telecom has issued a letter to internet service providers to block websites of taxi operators Uber, Taxi for Sure and Ola cabs. This came after a request from the Delhi government. It had earlier written to the DOT saying that despite a ban, Uber, Ola cabs and Taxi for Sure continue to book passengers through their apps. Well, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi has reached Telangana to begin his 15-kilometer Padyatra. Due to a last-minute change in plan, Rahul drove from Nanded in Maharashtra to Nirmal in Telangana instead of landing in Hyderabad. He will be covering at least 5 villages in Adilabad district of Telangana. The purpose of his visit remains on the need to highlight the plight of farmers. He will be accompanied by hundreds of party workers. He'll also be meeting families of farmers who allegedly committed suicide due to agrarian distress. He will also address farmers at Koratikal village at the end of his Padyatra. He undertook a similar Padyatra in Maharashtra's Vidarbha region and also in Punjab a few days ago.
राहुल जी एक अच्छा प्रोग्राम लिए अभी कल तक सरकार किसी आत्महत्या करे वाले के पास नहीं गया यहाँ का मंत्री एक 2 रोज पहले जाके एक आत्महत्या करे, सो फैमिली को 1 लाख रुपए दिया। ये राहुल गांधी आने की वजह से चेंज दिख रहा। आने वाले दिनों में और चेंज दिखेगा। सरकार बराबर किसानों के हित में काम करना पड़ेगा।
देखिए, రాహుల్ గాంధీ గారు వచ్చినా కూడా రాకపోయినా కూడా రైతుల పరిస్థితుల్లో ఇమీడియట్ గా మార్పేం లేదు. కానీ ఇట్లా పెద్ద నాయకులు వచ్చి పరామర్శించిపోతే రైతులకు ధైర్యంగా ఉంటుంది. కాబట్టి ఆయన వచ్చిపోతే నష్టమేం లేదు. కాకపోతే పడిపోతున్నటువంటి కాంగ్రెస్ పార్టీని, దేశంలో అడిగంటిపోయినటువంటి కాంగ్రెస్ పార్టీని బతికించుకోవడానికి రాహుల్ గాంధీ గారు చేస్తున్నటువంటి ప్రయత్నం ఇది.
When he was having the full control, the full hereditary control over the party, he was inactive. Now when he has lost the leadership of the country and so many questions have been raised on his leadership in the party, and now he is so much active, or you can say hyperactive.
Monsoon is likely to hit the Kerala coast on the 30th of May. That is 2 days ahead of its scheduled arrival. The Indian Met Department has said that conditions are becoming favourable for a preponed southwest monsoon over the Andaman Sea and adjoining areas during the next 3 to 4 days. It has already predicted that India is likely to witness a below normal monsoon season for a second consecutive year. It has partly blamed the El Nino phenomenon for the low forecast. If the monsoon reaches Kerala on the 30th of May, it will be the 7th time in 10 years when the state witnesses the rains arriving earlier than the scheduled date.
We have issued a forecast regarding advance of monsoon over Andaman Sea. We are expecting that it is likely to advance over these regions during next 3 to 4 days. There has been a lot of cloudiness, convection. There is a lot more rainfall occurring over the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and wind strength will increase in the coming 2 to 3 days, and which ultimately will lead to increase in rainfall and the setting of the southwest monsoon over Andaman Sea this year.
And time now to take a look at all the important events lined up for today in our segment, The Day Ahead. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley will take stock of the country's economic and fiscal situation today with the financial sector regulators. The Financial Stability and Development Council meeting will be attended by RBI and SEBI to review global and domestic factors that might impact the country. It will deliberate upon possible Fed rate hike and its impact on capital outflow from the country. The government has invited 11 central trade unions today to discuss their 10-point agenda and issues relating to certain amendments in the labour laws. Labour Minister Bandaru Dattatreya, Power Minister Piyush Goyal, Oil Minister Dharmendra Pradhan and Minister of State for Finance Jayant Sinha will attend the meeting. The unions have been opposing certain proposed labour law amendments which encourage hire and fire, making it tougher to make labour unions and diluting existing social security net available to the workers at different fora. The Delhi High Court will hear a plea filed by Aam Aadmi Party leader Kumar Vishwas today, seeking stay on the summons issued to him by the Delhi Commission for Women. The summons were issued to him following a complaint by a party volunteer that the leader had ruined her life by refusing to publicly deny rumours of their alleged affair. The plea by Vishwas also seeks direction that the woman be restrained from giving public statements on the issue. The two-day annual ICC Cricket Committee meeting will begin in Mumbai today. It will discuss various issues including illegal bowling actions and a review of the World Cup held in Australia and New Zealand. Other issues to be discussed are the balance between bat and ball in all three formats, ICC playing conditions, the use of technology in umpiring and the code of conduct, including player behaviour. The committee is being chaired by former India captain Anil Kumble and includes representatives of the game's various stakeholders. And time now for all the international news. US President Barack Obama sought to allay fears of Gulf nations amid growing anxiety over efforts to reach a nuclear deal with Iran. Obama promised to back it with allies in the face of any attempts by Iran to destabilize the region, but the summit has highlighted the tensions between Washington and the Gulf nations over Obama's Middle East policies.
US President Barack Obama hosted 6 Gulf states for a rare summit at the Camp David presidential retreat yesterday. Seeking to reassure them of Washington's commitment to their security, Obama said US would consider using military force for their defense, and that the nuclear deal with Iran should not be considered a threat to Gulf nations.
As we've declared in our joint statement, the United States is prepared to work jointly with GCC member states to deter and confront an external threat to any GCC state's territorial integrity that is inconsistent with the UN Charter. In the event of such aggression or the threat of such aggression, The United States stands ready to work with our GCC partners to urgently determine what actions may be appropriate, using the means at our collective disposal, including the potential use of military force for the defense of our GCC partners.
اللي بين الخمس دول 5+1 بالنسبة لإيران. طبعا كل دول مجلس التعاون ترحب بهذا الاتفاق، ونتمنى أن هذا الاتفاق راح يكون عامل أساسي للاستقرار في المنطقة. تحدثنا أيضا عن عدم تدخل الدول الغير عربية في شؤون المنطقة والدول العربية.
But Obama stopped short of offering a formal defense treaty. Instead, he announced more modest measures, including helping them to integrate ballistic missile defense systems, streamlining weapons sales, and increasing military training.
We'll help our Gulf partners improve their own capacity to defend themselves. The United States will streamline and expedite the transfer of critical defense capabilities to our GCC partners. We will work together to develop an integrated GCC defense capability against ballistic missiles, including an early warning system, and we will work toward the development of rapid response capabilities to undertake missions such as counterterrorism and peacekeeping.
U.S. relations with its partners in the Gulf have become strained due to the possible lifting of sanctions against Iran as part of a nuclear deal. U.S. played down the last-minute decision by Saudi King Salman to pull out of the summit, sending Crown Prince Mohammed bin Naif and Deputy Crown Prince instead. They fear the lifting of sanctions would empower Iran and are thus seeking stronger security guarantees. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's now take a look at all the sports news in Sports Beat. Ukraine's football club Dinero has reached their first Europa Cup final after beating Napoli 1-0 in the second leg of their semi-final. Yevgeny Seleznov scored the lone goal for his team. The Ukrainians completed a 2-1 aggregate win after drawing 1-1 in last week's first leg. Dnipro will now face holders Sevilla in Poland. Emmanuel Ortega, a young soccer player from Argentina, died on Thursday following a blow to the head he received during a game last week. The injury occurred when he collided into a cement wall while fighting to gain possession of the ball against Juventus Unida. Meanwhile, all professional matches in the country for the upcoming weekend have been suspended. Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer advanced into the quarterfinals of the Italian Open on Thursday. Fourth seed Nadal eased past John Isner 6-4, 6-4, while Roger Federer defeated Kevin Anderson 6-3, 7-5. Nadal will now face Stanislas Wawrinka, who beat Dominic Thiem 7-6, 6-4 to record consecutive victories for the first time since February. And that's all we have for you this morning. Have a nice day. Goodbye.